On June 14, 2026, MMA witnessed one of the greatest upsets of all time. Ilia Topuria suffered one of the most shocking defeats of all time when on UFC Freedom 250 in the South Lawn of the White House, after 4 rounds of calculated beatdown, his corner was forced to call the fight between rounds 4 and 5 while Ilia was still on the stool. Now, before we get into the fight itself, who he fought, and what happened, we have to set the stage for who Ilia Topuria is and why this result was so shocking. Born in Germany to Georgian parents before the family eventually returned to Georgia and later moved to Spain, Ilia was born to a hardworking family of immigrants. He had an older brother named Alexander Topuria. The relationship isn't just that of brothers, they were training partners, competitors, and motivators. While most future champions grow up idolizing heroes on television, Ilia idolized his brother and wanted to beat his brother. The brothers both fell in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and before transitioning into mixed martial arts, their lives revolved around training sessions, sacrifice, and chasing something nobody could promise would happen. Every champion has a period where nobody knows their name. Ilia began fighting professionally in regional promotions across Europe, cage fighters, and other. Instead of simply winning, he dominated. He could submit grapplers, and he could knock out strikers. It wasn't long before the UFC came calling, and when they did, he put them on notice. His first fight in the UFC came on just 8 days' notice after a bout with COVID-19. He fought Youssef Zalal at UFC Fight Night on October 11, 2020, replacing the injured Seung-Woo Chu, and he secured the unanimous decision despite the short notice fight. Then came Damon Jackson. This became his first UFC finish. Known primarily as a grappler before this bout, Topuria showcased elite boxing and elite striking. He consistently walked Jackson down and pinned him against the cage, systematically dismantling him and targeting his liver before finally causing him to drop his hands to protect his ribs. And Topuria immediately followed with a devastating walk-off right hand, one that we'll come to see very often. His next fight came against Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall was somewhat of a gimmicky fighter in the UFC. He was one of the greatest leg lock specialists and one of the greatest "that boy can do it" type of fighters in the UFC, right? And people were compelled to see what this fight was going to do. Was Topuria going to fall for a leg lock? What was going to happen? He knocked him out in the first round in Ilia Topuria fashion. Then came the biggest test of his career, Jai Herbert. On short notice, Ilia moved up to the lightweight division despite being a featherweight, and his first fight at lightweight came against a good opponent. He walked Herbert down, despite getting dropped early into the fight, getting knocked down and almost being finished, and landed one of the cleanest knockouts of his career, one that we still talk about to this day. Now, at this point, Ilia has just demolished everybody that's come across him. He is now entering contention. And so the UFC booked him with fellow undefeated fighter Bryce Mitchell. What does Ilia Topuria do to this fellow undefeated fighter who's a wrestler and a good grappler? He submits him in round 2. Enough said. Then came Josh Emmett. This was the fight where many fans started to point to him being the future of the entire UFC, let alone the weight class. He absolutely dismantled Josh Emmett across all rounds, beat him unanimously, and put an absolute beating on him. It was not even close. And after that performance, a title shot came calling against none other than Alexander Volkanovski. He was considered one of the greatest featherweights in MMA history. Many analysts pick Volkanovski because of his experience and because we haven't seen Ilia face an opponent of that caliber yet. But Ilia never looked intimidated. He landed a devastating knockout and he dethroned the featherweight king. And he didn't just do it by squeezing by him. No, he knocked him unconscious. Winning once creates a champion. Defending creates a problem. And what better answer to the problem than Max Holloway, one of the greatest featherweights of all time? Somebody who has never been knocked out in his career. This was supposed to be the fight where Ilia shows. And he did. After 14 years in the UFC, Max Holloway got knocked out for the very first time by none other than Ilia Topuria. Now another legendary name entered his resume. First Volkanovski, now Max Holloway. He was on a roll. He then followed that performance up by moving up and knocking out another fan favorite and legend, Charles Oliveira, for the vacant lightweight title because Islam had moved up. Now, he is now a 2-division champ while undefeated. He has been knocking people out left, right, and center, fan favorites, good fighters, Volkanovski, Holloway, Oliveira. At this point, the conversation changed. People stopped viewing him as, can he be one of the best fighters in the UFC, to can he be one of the best fighters of all time? And who was next in his way? Justin Gaethje, a longtime fighter in the lightweight division, very well known, and many people gave him no chance. Justin Gaethje had never been the undisputed lightweight champion in his career. Every time he came close, he fell short. And it looked like this was going to be another one of those cases. Justin Gaethje going into the fight was much older, He was on the decline as many people thought he was. And everybody thought Topuria was going to glass him in round 1. Topuria entered the fight undefeated and heavily favored, and he tried to beat Topuria, but he couldn't. Justin Gaethje showed incredible championship resilience after getting hurt in round 2, and he utilized his jabs, he utilized his fiery striking, he utilized his length and targeted Topuria's eyes. Gaethje also landed punishing leg kicks, devastating uppercuts, and he split through Topuria's guard. Gaethje's striking forced severe damage around Topuria's eyes, prompting a doctor check before round 4, and then ultimately during round 4 added even more damage to that eye. It became ugly. Topuria looked ugly. The accumulated damage was too much, and ultimately the same brother that he looked up to had to stop the fight. We all remember we finished the fight. Now, when we talk about Topuria going forward, many people now claim him to be overrated. Many people claim that he will never be champion again because now he looks human. But here's what I say. Ilia Topuria got to where he is by never giving up. And people never gave up on him, especially Alexander Topuria. And when you have a brother like that on your side, when you have people that believe in you, you can't quit. Ilia Topuria will not quit. And yet when we talk about him, people will see him as a quitter because of the stool, because of him not going into round 5 and losing to Justin Gaethje. But it's easier said than done. That's how easy it is to quit on someone. Alexander didn't quit on his brother. He saved his brother. People who quit on Topuria will regret it. He will be back.